Hello boys, welcome back to another session of video tutorials, and this session is meant for class 12th biology students, and this is for 1st December 2020. As all of us know, we are into the revision mode and we are revising chapter number 13, organisms and populations. As part of it, we have been discussing about how organisms are formed, what is the hierarchy of it, how populations are formed, what are the various factors that determine the number and size of the populations. So today in this session we are going to talk about growth model. So growth of population takes place according to availability of food. First condition is food, whether food is available to the populations or not. Second, condition of the habit, ecosystem in which they are existing, whether the ecosystem is conducive, all the things that are existing in the ecosystem, are they favorable for population increase? All these factors will decide the growth of the population. And most important, presence of other biotic. We said there will be two interactions. First interaction is biotic interaction, organisms to organism interaction. Second one is abiotic factors interaction, organisms versus abiotic factors interaction. So if these two interactions are good and conducive, favorable, ecosystem flourishes. Ecosystem flourishes means organisms increase their number, that will lead to population increase. So there are two main types of growth models. One, exponential growth. As the name says, exponential, grows ahead and ahead. In this kind of growth occurs when food and space is available in sufficient amount. A lot of food is available. There is no scarcity of food and space. So naturally, there is no stoppage for the populations to increase their numbers. When resources in the habitat are unlimited, each species has the ability to realize fully its innate potential, means inner potential, to grow in numbers. The population grows in an exponential or geometric fashion. If in a population of size n, population size is n, the birth rates are represented as B for birth rate, and death rate D. Then increase and decrease in n during a unit period time t will be dn by dt is equal to B for birth rate minus D for death rate into n, population size. So let birth rate minus death rate is a constant, let's say R. Then it becomes obviously dn by dt is equal to Rn. Then the R in this equation is called intrinsic factor or intrinsic rate of natural increase. R is called intrinsic rate of natural increase. So graphically, when we represent this, you can see on the x-axis time limit, we are taking the time factor, population growth curve. On the y-axis, we are taking population density n. So we have got two curves. One is going straight where dn by dt is equal to Rn, that is exponential. And another one is the logistic one. It grows up to certain time, it keeps on increasing and then gets stabilized. So we have got a line in the center, as you are able to see this. This is the constant populations in a given ecosystem. So maybe initially all the conditions are favorable in an ecosystem, and utilizing all the favorable conditions, the organisms keep on increasing their numbers, and once they reach to certain numbers, there will be intra and inner struggles. So the intra and inter struggles will make the populations to be at a constant rate. Then we say logistic growth. So in logistic growth, there is a competition between the individuals of a population. What for this fight among the organisms? Naturally for two things. For food they have to fight, for space, ecosystem has got limited space. So once the food becomes limited and the space in which the organisms are living becomes limited, survival of the fittest. So according to Darwin's theory, remember, always organisms struggle for existence. After struggling for existence, they become finer, and the fit organisms will survive. And when they reproduce, the fittest organisms that survived among themselves, if they reproduce, naturally the populations are better ones, better genomes will be evolved. So the fittest organism survives and reproduces. In this type of growth, initially shows a log phase, as you are seeing, followed by a phase of acceleration. You are seeing for some time it is log, then acceleration, there is increase, acceleration, and then deacceleration, it's coming down. So dn by dt is equal to Rn bracket k minus n by k. Of course, n, as we understand, is the population density at a given time t. R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase, and of course k is the constant one, and that is carrying capacity. K is equal to carrying capacity. Since resources for growth for populations are infinite and becoming limiting after some time, the logistic growth model is considered as more realistic one. Of course, this is more realistic one because the availability of food and resources, even the space, cannot be taken for granted forever because there are restrictions. Hence, the logistic growth model has to be a realistic one. And what about the interactions, population interactions? We said organisms to organisms. All animals, plants and microbes in a biological community interact with each other. These interactions may be beneficial, plus plus, detrimental, minus minus, or neutral, plus plus, to one of the species or both. So that means it can be plus or 0 or plus plus or 0 0. Following types of interactions are seen in a given ecosystem. What are those? Predation, competition, parasitism, commensalism, mutualism. Now, if we represent it in the mathematical way, we can put it this way: species A and species B, and the name of the interaction. Mutualism, of course, all of us know it's a type of symbiosis, symbiotic relationship. Both the organisms get benefited. Since both the organisms, species A as well as species B, are getting benefited, we say plus plus. So mutually helping each other. Competition, of course, is one is fighting for the other, and in the competitions, whenever there's a fight, there is loss for both the parties. That is competition. Predation, one who eats the other, the stronger fellow eats the weaker one, so weaker one is minus and the stronger fellow is plus. And then parasitism, again this is also same. The parasite is the one who absorbs the nutrition and other things from the host, so it is undesirable guest. So since the guest is deriving nutrition and space also, it is plus. And what about host? Host is losing, so because of the unwanted guest. So parasitism, it can be internal parasite or external parasite, but damage is to the host. And commensalism, it is plus for one, okay, and for other it is neutral. And then amensalism, it is minus, negative thing, and for the host it is 0 or neutral. So let's talk about the predation. It is an interspecific interaction where one animal kills and consumes the other weak animal. Just now we said predator. So predator, role of predators: transfer energy from plants to higher trophic levels. Like, you know, we have got trophic levels in a pyramidal shape. So you know that as we move ahead with the pyramid becomes narrower, and the top ones will be there in the corner. So higher trophic levels, as we move position of the organism in food chain, the energy will be highest. Control prey population: prickly pear, cactus and moth. So it is one of the ways to control a prey population. If the number of preys are becoming more in an ecosystem, then the predation will control that number of preys which are uncontrollable. So as we said, cactus and moth relationship, and it's a biological control of agricultural pests. Thanks to this, in one way, to the predators, so the pest control will be there through biological means. Maintain species diversity by reducing intensity of competition among competing prey species. So one will be always stronger than the other. And overexploitation of prey by predators results in extinction of prey as well as predator. If the predator keeps on hunting the prey and then eats off all the prey, in a matter of time the number of populations of prey come down drastically and the predator will be suffering without food. So in due course, predator number also comes down. So both prey also dies, predator also dies. And defense to lessen impact of predation, like insects and frogs, camouflage, and monarch butterfly, very poisonous, as you know. So there will be natural defense systems. The butterfly will be very, very beautiful, as you are seeing, but then once the bird start or any predator starts eating it, because of it's highly poisonous, so the predators understand that that will not be touched because it is poisonous. And insects and frogs, of course, a lot of camouflage, they keep on changing their colors. So if the background color matches with the body color, I think the enemy will find it difficult to identify the prey. Hence the prey will have this mechanism, self-defense mechanism. And then plants, morphological and chemical defenses, like cactus and acacia developing thorns so that the cattle can't eat because of the presence of thorns. That's a self-defense. Produce and store chemicals like calotropis. Poisonous chemicals will be there in the cytoplasm of the calotropis, so naturally the cattle can't afford to eat that. And then some of them are having even the drugs, nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium. These are agonist grazers and browsers. Next, competition. Interaction either among individuals of same species or between individuals of different species. It may be the competition between a lion and a deer, or it may be lion versus lion. So the interaction can be of the same species or different species. It occurs among closely related species, but not always true. This is true. So unrelated species also compete, like flamingo and fish compete for zooplankton. Zooplanktons, animals, small insects that are present in waters. Feeding efficiency of species reduce due to other species even if resources are plenty. So tortoise, for example, Abingdon tortoise, feeding efficiency of species reduce due to the presence of other species. Then evidence for competition, of course, we are seeing, just watch out the Animal Planet channel or Discovery channel. You will see the competition that is being shot live in various forests and various oceans and seas. So competitive release species distribution restricted to small areas due to competitively superior species. So causes for the competition is exclusion principle. What is that? Gauss competition exclusion principle. Two closely related species competing for same resources, look at that, competing for same resources cannot coexist, as competitively inferior one will be eliminated naturally. So that is the Gauss. So two lions cannot exist, that's what he means. So they will be fighting for each other, and if they fight for something like a food or a area, one of them will have to be eliminated. The weaker one have to be eliminated. Hence it is a loss for this lion populations. Hence Gauss competition exclusion principle says that two closely related species competing for same resources cannot coexist. They have to live separately. Resource partition, two competing species avoid competition. Look at that. By different feeding and grazing patterns. So this is warblers phrasing activities, authors. Okay, so we'll go ahead and discuss about other patterns in the next session.